It is that time of year again where we are reassessing the planning and productivity tools going into 2025, making sure that what we're using checks all the boxes, pinpointing maybe there's some issues or friction points and what we can do to solve that. So I'm going to use this video to share with you the tools that I'm choosing to go into the next year to plan and organize my life and business. I'm keeping a few of the tools that I used in 2024, but I'm also adding a couple new things based on things that didn't really work for me in this past year. But before we dive in, if you're new here, my name is Kalyn, and if these are the kind of videos that you just love to watch, you like seeing how people do things and plan and organize, I think you're gonna like the rest of my channel, so make sure you go ahead and click subscribe. All right, I feel like we should talk about 2024 and just give you a quick rundown of what I was using so that you know what I'm carrying over and why I'm choosing what I'm choosing for 2025. So back in last December, I shared that in addition to Notion, I was going to use the Hemlock and Oak Daily Planner. I really loved that this reminded me of like my bullet journaling days because the previous year, I believe it was 2023, I started to go back into a bullet journal. Like I still was using Notion, but bullet journaling was just kind of where I was keeping my tasks for the day and any notes, and I just really, really loved it. But I did want something with a little bit more structure still on paper. So I grabbed the daily planner, a day on a page. It was massive, had time blocking schedule on the left and then space for tasks and journaling underneath that. I had lots of space to journal, which is one of the things that I was really looking for 2024 because I wanted to incorporate journaling as a major habit in my life. I used it for about 3 months consistently, and then life just kind of got a little crazy, and I felt like it was becoming more of a burden than a joy. For the first time in my life, I was actually considering dumping paper altogether and going completely digital, which had never worked for me in the past. But I had set up my Notion in a way that it was really like just jiving with how I was thinking. So I just decided to go all in on my daily and weekly planning in Notion. Now, at the beginning of the year, I also started in Google Calendar. I've always had a calendar app for ever and ever and ever. But Notion Calendar released in January of 2024, and I was really excited about it because I thought now that I could use like just Notion tools across the board. But it was kind of a disappointment. So I did a whole video on that. If you want to know my problems with Notion Calendar, I'll link to that below. All that to say, I found and fell in love with a new calendar app. You've probably heard me talk about it before, and that is Morgan. So Morgan did a lot of stuff that Notion Calendar I feel like could have done and should have done and didn't. It integrates directly with Notion, and so it was such an easy transfer over to say like, I'm just not gonna log into Google Calendar anymore. I'm gonna use Morgan and Notion as my main tools. And then I had also shared that I was using a notebook, a Leuchtturm 1917, and it was graph paper inside, and that notebook was going to be my commonplace book. So if you've heard of commonplace books, I was really excited to finally start one. It was going to have all notes from things I was learning, quotes, just little bits and pieces that I wanted to save, and it really like didn't turn into much. I wanted to color code it. I bought these little stickers from Planner Kate. I had so many good intentions and it just didn't work. So it turned into more of like a brain dump slash random notebook where sometimes I would put lists in there, but most of the times I was processing maybe like a video that I wanted to share or a newsletter that I wanted to write. It was just a place for me to dump thoughts that it was okay to be messy. So that's what it turned into. I do want to say as a quick side note, I am still very much in the learning process for my learning workflow. I know a lot of you too are like continual learners. You love soaking in information from YouTube videos, podcasts, personal development books. I do too, and I'm struggling with a system to like I've researched so many different systems and tried them and they're not working. I did sign up for a course, and if I love it, I've done a couple of the lessons. I'm enjoying it so far. I will share in a future video if it worked for me and if I can finally nail down my learning and note-taking system. But all that to say, I'm still on the journey with you on that, but I will share if I figure it out. As I was using these tools, I was starting to find again, some friction points, things that just weren't working quite right, things that didn't feel intuitive. And so that led me to start to explore, well, what can I do to solve these issues? And I do want to share that I created this last year. It's a find your match planning guide. And it sort of takes you through some journaling questions just to figure out what you like and don't like about your current tools. And then we'll guide you towards, okay, you might actually like to try this tool because it has things that you're looking for. So if you want that, it's completely free to download. I'll leave a link in the description. But for me, when I was doing this exercise, I was finding that number one, journaling wasn't happening because once I got rid of my H&O daily planner, I was journaling sometimes, but it wasn't anything consistent. And that is the habit that I desperately want to build. It's consistent journaling practice. So that was one of the major problems. I needed something to help me do that. The second thing, and kind of this is second and third thing are kind of together, but I was forgetting meetings. So I had my meetings in Morgan, but the problem is I time block my day, I check it periodically, but sometimes I will get so wrapped up in something that I will forget to check my calendar and completely forget about a meeting that I have. Now I know I could solve this issue by adding in notifications. Generally, I don't like notifications at all. I turn them off for practically everything, and obviously maybe this is why I'm having the issue that I'm having. But what I prefer is to not have something come through on a device. I feel like I need something next to me that's open, that's reminding me that I can just glance over with what I'm working on and see right there that I have a meeting. And that leads me to say the third thing, I felt like I needed something that showed me a month as a whole. My Morgan calendar, I keep on the weekly view all the time because that's where I'm time blocking. That's how I know what I'm doing when. You do have a monthly view, but most of my calendars are time block calendars. And when they show on my monthly view, it just looks really cluttered. Now I have been playing with our custom calendar option, so you can assign calendars a number, like a shortcut number, so that when you click that number, it will toggle on just those calendars. So what I can do is just a couple extra taps is to click M for month and then 1 to make sure that I'm just seeing the calendars that I need to see on a monthly view. But again, I really want that month as a whole to be right next to me. I just feel like that is going to be helpful. And maybe for those of you who just use strictly digital tools, you're like, I don't understand why your calendar is not working. It's just not in that way. So that's something that I was also going into 2025 saying, what can I do that's not necessarily duplicating everything, but giving me a month at a glance view that I can have open on my desk so that I can see it whenever I'm doing something else on my computer. So here's the rundown of tools that I'm using for 2025. Number 1 is Morgan. I'm still using Morgan. I still love Morgan. However, to combat the issues that I'm facing, I purchased a monthly planner from Cultivate What Matters. Now, they're the company that usually do the power sheets every year. Actually, they still do power sheets, but they became pretty popular and famous for power sheets. And they sold just a monthly planner. It's super thin. And it just has the months. It lays very flat, which I love. And it also has some halfway through the year and at the end of the year, it has some review pages and ways to reflect on the season. I'm gonna be using this calendar, again, open on my desk, and it's going to have not just events and meetings, it's also going to incorporate our travel days. So some of you know, most of you know that I travel in an RV, and so we are moving around from, spot to spot, wherever we decide to visit in the United States. And I just like to know, planning ahead, which days we're gonna be traveling, how long we're staying at a specific campground, etc. Now I have a travel planner in Notion, but I like that it's going to be all together in one place. And then of course I want to incorporate deadlines so that I know not to do a travel day on a specific product launch day for a new template. So just things like that we'll see. We'll see. It could not work. It could backfire. It could feel like it's duplicate information, but I want to try it. The other thing that I really loved about this calendar specifically is she has a little section that is like add fun to your days. You know, those little holidays where it's like, wear pajamas to work day, or it's donut day, or whatever day it is. My word of the year, which I already told my newsletter subscribers. So if you want to get like early access information, you should totally sign up for that. The Monday Files sends out every Monday morning encouragement and inspiration to ease you into your week. I'll leave a link in the description below. Did I promote it enough? But I shared that my word of the year is fun. I just want to infuse fun into 2025. I feel like we're going on a little bit of a side tangent here. I hope you don't mind, but I like started to be introduced to this concept of finding the fun in maybe not so fun things with Feel Good Productivity by Ali Abdaal. And also just the whole like romanticize your life trend. I wanted to kind of combine those things and just find little ways to bring fun into my month. So every single month I'm going to create a menu, not a list, because a list feels like I have to check everything off, a menu of items that I can pick and choose from based on what I feel like that will help me infuse fun into that month. And I feel like this is the perfect place to do it. In terms of my workflow, I'm still going to have every single thing that I talked about in Morgan, but at the beginning of the month, or maybe at the end of the month for the next month, I'm going to be writing those down in this calendar so I can have that open and I know at a glance what is coming up. Okay, the next tool is Notion. Obviously, I'm not giving up Notion. I don't foresee me ever giving it up because I have spent so much time creating the systems that work for me in this app. I've got too much time invested, plus I love it, plus they're coming out with so many new features, and I actually have an upcoming video, so make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, that is going to outline all of Notion's updates in 2024. It was a huge year, and there were some things that even I missed and was excited to find out when I discovered that I totally missed the announcement. But I just want to go quickly through and highlight some of the different places in Notion that help me plan specifically. Let's first start with my personal dashboard. So this is where I'm primarily looking at when it comes to my tasks for the day and in the future. So I've got a My Tasks section with some different tabs that tell me what I'm doing today, tomorrow, what my wish list of tasks are, tasks by category, tasks that are assigned to like my assistant and my husband Joseph, and then some overdue tasks that I need to desperately figure out a new due date to do those tasks. And then I just have some button actions up top to add a task depending on the category that it is, because it gets assigned a different color and a different category tag. And so that's an easy way to like apply a template to a task, and a brain dump section so that if that task doesn't have a due date or a category, then it will show up in this filtered view of my task database to anything that does not have those two properties filled out, so that I can, at the end of the day, like I don't have to waste time now, at the end of the day, I can then organize those, file them properly so that they show up when they actually need to show up. And then I also have a list of like my goals and projects over here, but I actually have a separate 6-week sprint goal planner page. This may look a little bit different than the template that you downloaded if you grabbed my 6-week sprint goal planner template, just because I've like, it's not totally different, but I have rearranged a few things to how I want to see it. So I have things in here that are not just 6-week sprints, but they're maybe longer term projects, or maybe a goal that is going to take the course of the year, like this read one nonfiction book per month in 2024, which I am clearly not going to make that goal. But some other things here, like 12 weeks, that's not really a 6-week sprint because that was a 12-week workout program. But migrating to Flowdesk is a 6-week sprint. Basically, I just, whenever I need that time accountability and parameter of the 6 weeks, it turns into a 6-week sprint. But you can totally do like projects and 6-week sprints in the same database. It's really just whether, like, how long you want to dedicate time to that project. If you want it to be kind of ongoing, or you don't have a deadline for it, or if you want to put it within the 6 weeks. And if you want to learn more about the 6-week sprint and how it applies to goal setting, this is a great time of year to do it. I'll leave a link to that video below. I have tasks related to all of my goals and projects, so the task and then the project it relates to, and then everything else here should look similar to the template, like the current week that we're on, some quick button actions, etc. And then I'll pop on quickly over to my content creation hub because this is another dashboard page that is highly referenced based on the workflow that I have of things that I need to do and create every single week. So I've got all the different platforms that I'm on up here that are active. I have every content piece that is in progress using the board view. And then I have content calendars under here for my personal brand, Kalyn Brook, and then also my travel brand, Open Roading, which we have a YouTube channel also linked to that below if you want to join us over there and see what RV life is really like. Now, all of this comes together in my weekly planning page, which I have linked up here on my personal dashboard. I did do a video on how I plan my week and kind of went through this entire process. There's also a free weekly planning template that you can download if you would like. So that's basically reviewing, tasks and goals that I have and habits, resetting. So auditing the tasks that need attention, like all of those overdue tasks, they show up here so I can assign in due dates, creating a new week, updating recurring tasks, adding new tasks based on some task triggers, and also referencing my content calendars again over here, and then just seeing what I have. Wednesday is looking too long, so I'm definitely gonna have to like swap things around there. But that's kind of like my process in Notion for how I'm using that as a tool to plan and organize my life and business. I have 2 more tools to share with you for my planning stack for 2025, and this next one comes from the Cultivate website as well. I saw today's top 3 sticky notes, and I thought they were perfect because sometimes, as you can see on like my Notion, when I just showed you my Notion task list, it's pretty long. I'm probably not going to get to all of those today. So I felt like this was essential to just kind of mine out the top 3 that I had and put them on a sticky note that I can just then throw away. So that is going to help me, I think, really stay focused on what is important. Now, we have talked about how to solve my planning issues, but when it comes to journaling, I have a tool that I'm very hopeful about and I'm excited to try. And I feel like 2025 is the perfect year to try it. And that is a 5-year journal. So if you're not familiar with these, they have spaces for like 3 to 4 lines for 5 years. You just write in the year, you write a couple lines about your day, a memory that you want to keep, something funny that happened, a quote you loved, whatever it is, you can write it in here, just a couple lines. And when it comes to like even 4 or 5 years down the road, you can go back and look in January 21st. Oh, here's all the things that I was doing, 4 years prior. So I think it's going to be really fun and hopefully easier to maintain and get me into that regular journaling habit because it's not going to take long to do. I purchased this one specifically from Etsy. I looked at a lot of them and I could not find like a design that I really, really loved. But this one I think is so beautiful. You can customize it with your initials or a name. So I think this is just so pretty. I'm so excited to use it. And hopefully 2025, I have a good feeling this is the year that journaling is going to stick. Obviously, I will link all of the notebooks and tools that I'm using below. I hope this was helpful as you're figuring out what you want to do for 2025. I always love like seeing other people's systems and how they're doing things. And even if I don't follow it exactly, it usually sparks an idea of something that I can try to incorporate into my planning system. So I hope I have helped do that for you. Let me know what you are going to be using in the new year. I want to know what tools, what planners, I want to know all the things. So drop a comment below and I will see you in the next video.